Hey guys, welcome to the two-way frequency table notes. Please make sure that you have one of these pieces of paper and a calculator and a pencil to write with. Okay, if you need to pause the video for longer for everybody to get settled, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, here we go. So what we're talking about today is something called two-way frequency tables, and it's because there's two types of variables. For example 1, that's going to be adults versus kids, and then hot dog versus hamburger. So when you have two different types of things you're looking at, then you need a two-way frequency table. And the most important part about a frequency table is that each row and each column should add to the total, which is located on the right side or the bottom. Now, even though each row and column are supposed to add to the total, you're actually going to end up doing more subtraction than you are addition, because if you already know the total, then you subtract the first part to get the other part. We're going to do that far more often than we're actually going to add. I'll explain when we do our first example. The other part that I'm going to ask you guys to do that we haven't specifically done ourselves in this class, but you've done in the past, is percentages. To find a percent, you're going to divide the part by the whole and then multiply by 100, or you can move the decimal right to. And underneath the word whole, I'm going to write in quotes the word of, because that's what part will represent the whole. For example, 45 out of 60, that means 60 is the whole part, so it goes on the bottom. So the of always tells you what number goes on the denominator. And if I'm doing that example, 45 divided by 60 is 0.75, which hopefully some of you guys know is 75%. If I wanted to figure that out, I could either move the decimal point 2 to the right or multiply it by 100. And that would be 75%, sorry. Okay, let's practice filling in one of these tables. I'm going to fill it in first, so I'm going to slide the calculator to the side. We'll bring it back in just a second. So example 1 tells us that 200 people were surveyed. It doesn't tell us whether they were adults or kids or hot dogs or hamburgers, so that 200 is our grand total down here at the bottom. Then it says 80 were kids. Doesn't say whether or not they preferred hot dogs or hamburgers, so you're going to go to the kids row all the way to the total and put 80. Then it says 88 people preferred hot dogs. That's going to be the hot dog total because it doesn't say adults or kids, it's just 88 people. Now this last one is the one that people usually find the trickiest. 53 of these were kids. When it says the word these, it's referring back to the hot dogs. So 53 of the hot dog people were kids. That is all the numbers that it tells us, so afterwards we are going to have to subtract or add. The reason why I said subtraction happens more often is because, for example, if I look right here, I have the total in one part, so I would have to do 200 minus 80, which is 120, to get that number. And I'm going to keep looking around the table for any spot that I have 2 out of the 3 numbers. For example, I can't try going down, or I can't try going right here, because I only know one number in each row or column. Then I could go, say, on the kids row, and I could do 80 minus 53. which is 27. Same thing on the bottom row. 200 minus 88 is 112. Then I can go upwards. This also works in columns. So 88 minus 53. Let me move that so you can actually see it. Would be 35. And lastly, I have two different ways I could do the last one. I could do 120 minus 35 along the top row, or I could do 112 minus 27 using the column. It does not matter which way you do it. Either way, your answer is going to be 85. And that's it. That's how you fill in the table. Then, when it asks which food more kids like, 53 liked hot dogs, 27 liked hamburgers, so more of them liked hot dogs. And we're just looking down the kids row to do that. Right here. Then it says what percent of adults preferred hamburgers. Of adults means you're looking at the adults row, which is 120 adults. And prefer hamburgers is only 85 of those. And 85 divided by 120 is going to give us our percent. Now that's 0.708. That would read as 70% right now, but since there's an 8 afterwards, we need to round that to 71%. The next part says percentage of people who prefer hot dogs were kids. So that means that we are looking at the hot dogs column right here, which has 88 total on the bottom, and kids is 53 out of this 88. That's 60% with a 2 afterwards, so it stays 60. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit faster through the second example. First one's still up there if you need it. 150 people were asked whether they like sports cars or SUVs. So that's going to go in the very bottom right. And then it says 75 were men. So that goes on men all the way down to the total. Then it says 50 women preferred SUVs. So you're going to go to wherever women crosses with SUVs and write 50. 85 people preferred sports cars. So sports car all the way down to the total is 85. And then you just need to start looking for a spot where you know two numbers, like 150 minus 75 is 75. 75 minus the 50 would be 25. 85 minus 25 is 60. And I'm going to pause right there and see if you can finish. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is 75 minus 60 is 15. And I know the two parts for that one and I'm missing the total. So this is actually the first and only time I'm going to have added 50 plus 15 is 65. And there we have our table. Okay, which car did more people like? If we look at our totals at the bottom, 85 versus 65, the sports cars win with 85. What percent of men preferred sports cars? That means you're looking at the men row. Sports cars is 60 out of the 75. So 60 divided by 75 0.8. Think in your head really quick, what percent is 0.8? If you said 8%, you are wrong. It's actually 80. Because if I multiply that by 100, or if I move the decimal place twice, not once, I get 80. Last problem. What percent of people who prefer sports cars were women? So I'm going to go to the sports cars column. That's 25 women out of 85 total, which is 29%. There's a 4 afterwards, so you're going to keep it as 29%. All right, get a jump start on that homework assignment.